Struggling to get caregivers and feel like you have tried everything? My guess is you haven't tried this. Hi, my name is Nick Bonitatibus, and on today's episode of Home Care Digital, we're talking about some simple strategies that you can use to get more caregivers. Yes, recruiting strategies that actually work. Let's dive in. The thing is, recruiting is sales. We need to understand, and so the more that we develop these skill sets, which in case is sales, and let's be honest, sales is one of the most powerful skill sets that you can develop because it helps you in all areas of your life, whether you're trying to get your kid to do something, trying to get more caregivers, trying to get your staff to do something. Every aspect of life comes with sales, and so understanding skill sets can be really powerful, and understanding how to leverage this can be really powerful. Now, when it comes to recruiting, the most impactful thing that we can do is creating what I like to call an irresistible offer, right? Doesn't that just sound great? Who wants an irresistible offer? I know I do, right? So we're gonna talk about how you can develop. We're gonna talk about the first part, and then there's gonna be a part two where we continue on about this series. So we're gonna break down the first part and then the second part of creating your irresistible offer. Now, where does this come from in creating an irresistible offer? Well, part of this was developed from a company called the Harmon Brothers. You may not know the name, you probably don't, but you probably recognize some of these products, right? Poo-Pourri, Squatty Potty, Purple. I actually have a Purple mattress. Literally bought it because I like the commercial and I like this brand. So this works, but what they have developed and what they created is what is known as a video sales letter. So what is a video sales letter? Also known as a VSL. Basically, it's a video that's focused on getting someone from where they are to where you want them to go, and there's a whole formula for this. Now, what's unique about this process is that it doesn't actually need to be a video. It can be used in a number of different ways. I actually call this a message formula. I've adopted this because you can use it for email marketing, social media marketing, just so many different ways in how you use this strategy. And so as we go into it, yes, you may be thinking, oh, but this is video. Don't worry, you're gonna learn a ton that's not just video and how you can utilize this. So the first part of this framework is the hook. Then we got problems, benefits, right? 3, solution. 4, call to action. 5, doubts and credibility. 6, call to action. We're gonna focus on the first couple here, and then in part 2, we'll go into the last couple. So the first thing, the hook. Right? Scurry. That was a terrible pirate impression, but it's all right. We're moving on. When it comes to the hook, right? This is your attention grabber. You're pulling them in, understanding what it is that they want and how you're grabbing people's attention. You see this all the time. If you've ever seen an infomercial, there's always some type of hook. Good commercials have that same thing. Depending on when you're watching this, the Super Bowl is coming up, although this will probably publish after the Super Bowl, but there was a ton of commercials that you probably saw that you may reflect back on, and wow, they really used this strategy. I mean, every commercial is using the good ones, this formula that you're gonna see that we're talking about today. And so we're using this to draw people in, build curiosity, and a lot of times it's focusing on the needs and desires that individuals have, the target customer has, and we're solving a problem that they have. As business owners, we are problem solvers. As salespeople, we are problem solvers. How are we solving people's problems? If we don't understand their problem, then we can't help them. And so the same thing goes with leveraging this for recruiting. We have to be able to attract and understand. We'll get to the problem in a second. We're starting with the hook here. But one thing to note, these are not good hooks. We're hiring, help wanted, help needed, not good hooks. Right? And I see this all the time, specifically with like posts on social media, flyers that people are creating, help wanted. Stop. We got to stop this. Think about what it is that they want, the desired outcomes that they want to achieve. Some things to think about when it comes to hooks that you may be creating. I'm not going to go into some examples, but this is just something to think about when it comes to caregivers and what it is they want. Now, this is an older stat from Home Care Pulse. I don't know if they still do this statistic, but nonetheless, it's still factual and actual, and it's not going to change that much into today's world, right? And so, as you can see, a desire to help people is 88.3%. So that is why people applied, why they got into caregiving, because they want to help people. So think about that, okay? That's the need, that's what they're trying to do, they want to help people. Another thing, the first step in becoming a nurse, right? The hours fit into my job schedule, right? Flexible, was able to get hired out without any training experience. The salary, right? Salary money is 8%. It's one of the lower ones. So understanding that that may not be your best route in how you're attracting the top caregivers. Desire to help people is really impactful, but if you do any caregiver job, the desire to help people is there too, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about their problems because this is more about what they want, and this doesn't address many of the problems that they're having, and that can actually be a much more effective strategy. A lot of times you can actually use their problem as a hook and just getting right to it. So there is some overlap in regards to how we're addressing what their problem is in the very beginning and drawing them in, talking who you want to in that initial state. So the next part here, number 2, is the problem. How are we addressing the problem, right? I did mention sometimes it is they want to earn more. I know the salary was pretty low in the stats, but it is in some cases one of their problems, right? They're struggling, they need money, right? There's some other aspects. I'm gonna do a video later about that, but they're unappreciated. This is one of the things I hear all the time when it comes from caregivers is that they are just another number. They feel like another number. They feel like they're not appreciated. Are you doing this to your existing caregivers right now? So it becomes a really important aspect, and this is a retention thing as well, in understanding, hey, this is what people want, right? Maybe they're stressed about having to work with so many patients in a facility, right? This is trying to target some of those caregivers that are working at facilities and how we can pull them over to home care. Because let's be honest, the best caregivers are already probably working somewhere else versus necessarily some amazing caregiver that's going to come out of nowhere. So it is what it is. I mean, I'm saying it because I'm just being honest. That's the case. Like, we should be trying to do everything we can to steal caregivers from other people and offering more. That's what good companies do. The best companies don't even struggle recruiting people because they have such an amazing company culture. People love working with them that they don't have to spend a lot of time recruiting. So if you really develop your company culture, develop your caregivers, develop that culture, you're not going to have to worry as much about recruiting because they're going to do the recruiting for you, as well as showcasing how you're solving some of these problems in your recruiting process, right? So those are the things that we're going to talk about here. So understanding, right, some of their problems, desire to make a difference, right? So that's part of it. A career that makes a difference every day, right? That's the benefit. Waking up and doing something you love, proud to be fulfilled to go into work. Now, some of these like kind of hooks / problems are focused more on a new caregiver versus targeting someone that is already existing. So again, if we focus on, again, that could be a hook. Tired of feeling like just another number? Are you unappreciated in your job, right? We're leveraging a little bit in the fear and the negative, but that can be really impactful. And again, how we're solving the problems, because at the end of the day, that is what we're trying to do, right? So think about that in how you're marketing, what your flyers look like, what your posts look like, are you addressing the biggest concerns that your existing caregivers have and how you are the solution to your problem? If you're just saying, hey, we have work, great. They can find work anywhere. They can go down the street. What makes you different? How are you doing things that are going to attract them that's really going to make the difference? Caregiving is going to be the same everywhere. So you have to create that irresistible offer that really makes you different, unique, that separates you from these other companies. And company culture and things are part of that. I'm going to talk more about that in part 2, but it becomes really, really important in addressing these individuals' problems. The more that you understand what your existing caregivers are going through, what their problems are, and becoming the solution to their problems, the more that you're going to be attracting them. I think about this all the time in the caregiver process because this is sales, right? I mentioned that at the beginning. This is sales. And so often in the interview process, you're focused more on, hey, is this person the right fit for us? Instead of, hey, is this mutually a good fit? But if we're not asking them what some of their problems are, or hey, what are some of the issues that you're having at maybe your other company? These are things to know. When I do a sales call or someone talks to me, I'm not pitching my company before I even understand their problems to see if I can solve them. So think about, hey, what are some of the problems that they're having that they're even in your office in the first place? And then showcasing, hey, here are some things that we're doing that solve that problem. Whether it is maybe pay, whether it is maybe company culture. Oh, here's some things that we do in our company. So often I hear that home care agencies are talking about company culture and orientation. What? That is too late. You can't be talking about orientation, talking about company culture and orientation. They're already there. Who cares? You've already sold them. You've got them in the room to do orientation. We got to be front facing that. We got to do that way earlier, making sure that we're marketing these things instead of waiting until somebody's already in our circle. We've got to be putting these, it's got to be on our, how are we showcasing company culture in our landing pages? How are we showcasing company culture on our flyers? Everything, social media, everything front facing should be a massive representation of our organization as a whole. It's like, hey, we're fun, we're a great community, we're a great culture. Really leveraging that becomes powerful. And so really, how are you solving problems? To recap, right? Think about that. Gotta have effective hooks. Gotta understand their problems, and then you can be the solution. So we're gonna dive more into creating this irresistible offer in next week. So be sure to stick around. I'll see you then.